am the mobile loss prevention manager for one of the local retail stores here.
So loss prevention is another word for what? Stealing.
Correct.
The store losing the bottom line.
It happens everywhere, all day.
Everywhere, all day. What is a typical profile of someone that is? And the reason I'm asking, friends, is because I think someone that's watching this may know someone in their family, may know someone in their neighborhood or their school or their campus, and you know that they are practicing stealing, and you're wondering, why are they doing it? Tell me some of the profiles that are most common.
Honestly, it ranges. We get people from 13, 14-year-old kids to 75, 85-year-old ladies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. Opportunities come differently. So backpacks, purses, clothes, shoes, kids, they use their children sometimes. So
oh my, I've seen that, and it's so sad. So actually parents are sending their children into the store, and they know they're doing it.
Correct.
And they're not doing it because where you work is not about food, it's about clothes.
Absolutely.
So clothes, they're stealing clothes.
Right, yeah. It's really, really disappointing sometimes. Sometimes we have, times where you're like, okay, it's a 75-year-old lady. She's definitely stealing.
Wow.
We get younger kids, younger women, families that come in 4, 5, 6, 7.
And when
8
you look
people
at their purse, do they have money? Are they broke?
Absolutely not.
They're not broke.
So most of the time when they're taking stuff, it's just because they want to.
Just because it's like an addiction, do you think?
It's an adrenaline rush, I think.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for. It's an adrenaline rush.
Right.
Can I get away with it?
Right, and can I get caught? And what's going to happen when I get caught? Because a lot of people are a little like, oh, well, if I get caught, it's not that big a deal.
But it is a big deal.
It definitely is a big deal.
Tell the audience, why is it a big deal? How it goes on your record. I want some young person that's watching this that think it's no big deal to steal some lipstick, or a purse or something.
Well, the biggest thing is, I know a lot of people don't really pay attention to this, but depending on the price and how much we feel the item is worth, our charges can be different. So it can go from petty theft to grand theft in a various ways, like just in a difference of $25, $30. I can have somebody take something as small as $2.99 and it be nothing, and then you can take something as big as maybe $49.99, and now it's on your record forever.
It's on your record forever.
Right.
Oh my God. So, being in this environment and seeing this type of thing, what does it do to your spirit to see people engaged in criminal activity, and you know that there's consequences, you know that it's most times just unnecessary? How do you process that in your mind?
It's disappointing, especially coming from a household like I came from, growing up the way that I grew up, with a lot of values, and I thought a lot better of myself. So when you're in the world and you see how people really don't think that highly of themselves, don't give themselves enough credit, don't feel as though they're worthy enough to feel like I'm better than stealing, I'm better than having to take something. It's disappointing.
Wow, that's amazing. So Kyle, you're a young man. I watched you kind of grow up for the short period of time that we were in the same church.
Right.
And to see you now as an adult,
right.
You've gone to college.
Correct.
You did, and then graduated.
Correct.
All right. What was your major?
Psychology.
Psychology. Okay, you're part of my tribe.
Right.
That's my education.
We're in there now.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
Studying behavior.
Right.
We get that, right? It's so fascinating to understand why people do what they do.
Right.
We don't necessarily judge. We want to know
Yeah.
the backstory. Why are you stealing?
Right. It's more so. It's like I tell people all the time when I'm at work, I don't really focus on your actions so much. I want to know what your medulla is telling you. Like, why is it that you're feeling that way? What is it that you're bringing into the store that makes you feel like these are the actions I need to take?
Right. So Kyle, tell me, what about body language? What do you see that says, I need to watch that person? Are there usually strong body signals?
For the most part. I mean, you get better at it the more that you're doing it, obviously. So just, little things, eye contact, where you're walking, how you're walking, if you're talking or not, if you're going to give me a full frontal or not. Do you respect me enough to, keep your head up, your chin up? If you're kind of just passive, if you talk too much. So those are all things that...
Oh, if you talk too much?
Correct.
You mean to other people or talk to you?
To me.
Is that like a distraction?
In a way, yes. So a lot of times my conversation is limited, especially because I don't really have like the necessity to talk, especially being that it's not a requirement for me. I have other people on my team who, read and do all those other things as far as, having conversation with people. I don't necessarily have to ever say anything. You don't ever necessarily have to see me. But, when people make it a point to figure out who you are, find out where you are, talk to you, get more information as far as you're concerned. A lot of times you can take it from being friendly and just having regular conversation to, okay, now you're trying to figure me out. And understand where I'm going,
they're trying to figure you out.
Exactly.
And a lot of times people don't have a lot of respect for security in the stores, but you, I understand, have the capability to actually arrest.
Absolutely. So we have the capability to make sure that you're apprehended, to make sure that you are detained. We work really closely with the local PD, so it's definitely something that they're 2 minutes away. And it's unfortunate sometimes because people don't really realize how quickly your life can change in a blink of an eye.
In a blink of an eye.
Yeah, especially.
And are they usually like caught by surprise? Are they resistant? What is a typical reaction to being apprehended and realizing you've been busted?
90% of the time it's remorse.
Remorse?
Okay. But not necessarily for the action, but more so because they got caught. It's like, I'm sorry. You're not sorry.
Yeah, you really are sorry.
Right, exactly. So it's more so like they're not really expecting what's going to come. A lot of times they don't think you know. So, when I come out, they're like, oh, shoot, like, yeah, we caught you. We understand. And then everything that we have is on camera. So it's not up for deliberation or debate. We know what's going on or not. I'm not coming to ask you because I don't know. I'm coming to ask you because I'm aware. And now we're going to have to do something about it.
So, Kyle, the reason I wanted to interview you because, audience, thank you for sticking with us. For those who just tuned in, I'm talking to Kyle Winfrey, a young man that I've known for a few years, and we reconnected over the years because he works in security at a store that I frequent. But Kyle, when I saw how you have matured, how you matriculated through college, you're articulate, you are polite, you are an awesome young man. Your mother did such an incredible job. Shout out to Michelle Winfrey. Your son is the bomb.
Definitely one of the best people in the world.
Oh, wow, that's so precious. I just believe that there's so much more inside of you. And what I detect is that you have a compassion and a concern about the future of our youth. I know for me, I'm invited many times to speak on college campuses to teach life skills. Is that something that you, being a student of psychology, are interested in?
Yeah, definitely making sure that we prepare everybody with proper life skills is definitely important. I know a lot of times, especially where our youth is concerned, we kind of just tailor them to, 3 or 4 options. Like, hey, I run this nonprofit, and these are the 2-3 options that we have. So pick a lane, and then we'll be able to get you through it. I think we need to maybe broaden our horizons and make sure that, okay, well, rather than trying to tell you what you should or shouldn't do, I'm going to give you an option about what you want to do, and then I'll provide the resources to help you do exactly what you want to do.
So where do you see that there's a void in the mentoring? Do you want to work with young men or girls or both?
I feel like both is necessary. There's a lot of young men in the world that don't have fathers, don't have proper mentors, don't have older brothers. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a church where I was the right of those. Shout out to DeAndre. He was definitely somebody that helped me a lot in my life.
Say it again. Shout out to who?
DeAndre.
All right.
He's definitely somebody that helped me a lot in my life. He still helps me to this day. There's a lot of things that, even though you're a mentor, you're still trying to figure out.
Well, look, hey, I'm your elder, and I have mentors. I just say from the womb to the tomb, you just never stop growing.
Exactly.
So when you talk in terms of life skills, I think in terms of managing your money, managing your time, managing your emotions, relationship skills, coping skills with the stress, preparing for a job interview. Are any of those things, did they strike you as a part of the arsenal that you want to equip young people with?
Definitely. I mean, especially in the African American community, one of the biggest things that we always lose out on isn't whether or not we can perform that job well enough or perform that task well enough. It's whether or not we can present ourselves in the proper light to let that person know we can perform that task.
Having confidence.
Correct.
Body language is so important. Preparation for the interview. Learning how to speak well. Showing up on time.
Exactly.
It's a sad commentary when we see young people wearing slippers
Right.
and tattoos everywhere.
Right.
And I know social systems have kind of gone lax a little bit.
Right.
And even in the bank, you can see it.
Right,
Like, wow,
definitely.
you work for the bank? You dress like that? But I
Right.
know that they're trying to connect with their customers.
Right.
But I believe there's a certain standard of respect and professionalism that we're losing.
Exactly.
And I see that you want to be a part of that.
Yeah, just being a young man or a young woman in the world, you have to make sure that, I was always taught, by my mother that people are only going to treat you the way that you allow them to treat you.
Exactly.
So if you come into, the workplace and you have on dirty shoes, slippers, or any of those things, I'm looking at you like you're not serious. You're not very prepared. You're not ready for whatever it is that I'm bringing to you. And a lot of these kids get so, mixed up with, my title is this. Who am I in the world? But it's more so who you project to be.
Yeah. Now, do you actually do the hiring?
Yeah, so there's a process to where, I actually do.
So you got different levels.
Correct.
With your job
So there's definitely more to, more than just meets the eye. There's a lot of stuff that, again, just off the cuff, you would not expect or presume that it would happen, which is great because I love that part. I definitely don't like to feel like I'm, too enthralled to where people can't be relatable with me.
Yes.
But I also don't want to make sure that, they understand that there's more parts to what I do other than just what you might see.
And I saw that the first time I reconnected with you, I just saw such maturity
Right.
and confidence and just strength. And what would you attribute what your mother and others have poured into your life? What were
Right.
some of the qualities that you feel have helped to get you into a lane of success?
I think the biggest thing is just making sure that you see the right things growing up.
Can you say that again?
Making sure that you see the right things growing up. So for me, I grew up in a single parent home, obviously. It was definitely something that was challenging to a degree, but it was also something that, my mother never made sure it hindered me in any way. She put me around the right people to make sure I saw the right things, put me in proper environments to make sure that I was successful, provided the right things as far as she could. To make sure that I was there, and then ultimately just making sure that she was a strong individual herself.
And she is. She
definitely
is.
a strong individual.
What would you say to the single mothers, specifically raising a black man child?
Right.
What were some of the things that that kept you away from trouble? I know her presence, her energy, her guidance, but is there a particular scenario or a particular conversation or a particular pearl of wisdom that she gave you, or someplace she took you, or someone she introduced you to that impacted your life?
I think the biggest thing was our conversation. So being that me and my mother were so close,
wow.
that for a long time we did have many conversations, and I think the biggest thing for single parents, especially raising a black man in this world, is to let them know where you can help them and where you can't. I think the biggest problem is, especially as single black women, they try to make sure that they're everything, right?
Yeah,
their mom and
be.
their dad and their grandma. And
Right.
You can't be. You can only be mom. And I think the biggest thing that my mother instilled in me was, as much as she can help me in all these other avenues, there's going to come a time where I'm going to have to grow up. And I'm going to have to grasp it on my own. And while she was mom, she can't show me how to be a man. She can't show me what a man is supposed to do. She has to make sure that I was raised with the right things instilled in me and given me the right examples as far as men are concerned, that I can see the right things and then take from those things individually and then apply them to myself and make the proper man that I feel like I need to be.
Wow. Again, shout out to Michelle Winfrey.
Definitely.
So as we close, Kyle, could you tell me something that you notice when you see other single mothers I don't like to say a mistake, but a misstep, something that they're not aware of that could really hinder their young boy or young man from fully walking into adulthood? Is there something that you see like, wow, they're not even aware how the consequences of that?
Right.
What have you seen?
I think the biggest thing is giving a bailout.
So, giving a bailout.
Right. So the biggest thing that I see a lot of single mothers do especially now and volunteering in some of the youth events and things that I do. A lot of single mothers give their kid a pass because they don't have a father, or because they don't have an older brother or somebody to teach them the right way to do things. There's no excuse for bad behavior. There's no excuse for making a mistake. It's just a mistake. There is no bailout, so that's what I like to call it, because you know, your kid will go and say the wrong things, have a smart mouth, be disrespectful, and all of those things are attributed to whether or not he has a father. I didn't grow up with a father. It was never okay for me to talk back. It was never okay for me to be disrespectful, to be irresponsible, to not take, you know, things that I needed to take seriously. Those are all things that I feel like in this community we get that bailout mainly because, you know, they feel some type of way about how their kid is growing up. The biggest thing is to just be proud of who you are as a parent, and know that you're doing the best that you can possibly do. And
say that to my ladies watching, these single mothers. I hope you're getting this. This is and even for married mothers.
Exactly.
Because I know what you're saying. I'm guilty. I was guilty of that in the younger years of my son. So that is so rich. So I heard you say, Kyle, that you are volunteering in the community. You are mentoring. You are reaching out. And I commend you for that. Because I think that is part of the solution. We can't count on government. We can't count on churches. We can't count on the schools. It has to be, you know, there's an African proverb that says each one must teach one. And so I'm just so proud of you, man. I'm so proud of you. You are such a great example of what we need. You are what I call a multiplier. We need to multiply your sense of consciousness and your sense of duty and your sense of service. So you keep doing that. I'm going to stay connected with you. And if anyone is watching this and you live we're in the Rancho Cucamonga, San Bernardino County area, but do you also do the outreach in LA County? I do,
especially more recently. So just attending a lot more events, the Brotherhood Crusade and some of the other things that we're doing out there. Like I said, my mentoring doesn't just stay out here. It's where it's needed. So if I need to.
So would you prefer to do like one-on-one counseling, or do you speak at an event, or you do like a day with a mentor? Give me an example of how you.
So I kind of operate more on a one-on-one basis. I feel like it's a little bit more effective that way. Everybody doesn't grasp your concept in an open forum. Sometimes kids aren't really too receptive.
They're not too attentive. But I will tell you this, Kyle. Continue doing the one-on-one, but your story has value. That's why people watch movies. That's why they watch Netflix, because it's a story. So your story of coming into manhood, your story of being raised by a single mom, your story of graduating from college, your story of having employment, your story of wanting to give back, your walk of faith, your sense of responsibility. That's a story. And I tell you, you could tell it to a room full of thousands, and if one walks away and turns their life around, you've done some good work. And so I want to encourage you to think about, you know, entering into the speaking realm. And it doesn't have to be this magnanimous, I messed up that word. It doesn't have to be this awesome speech. Just tell your story. Because I tell you, if a lot of young men could hear your story, you could save a lot of young men from making some poor choices and missteps.
In my life, that's definitely something that happened for me. Like I said, I was blessed enough to be introduced to an individual that knew where I was coming from, walked my walk a little bit, understood where I was going. Like I said, my life wasn't always perfect. I wasn't always in the best light possible outside.
None of us are.
But it's definitely something that when you finally get to sit down with another man and he finally gets to see, all right, listen, like I see where you're going. I've done what you've done. You know what I'm saying? I've walked your walk.
So much value in that.
And now I'm trying to tell you that there's another walk that I would like you to see. And more importantly, giving them the option. I think that that's the biggest problem with just mentoring in general. Just because I'm mentoring or just because somebody's mentoring me doesn't mean I have to make you do it.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just planting a seed.
Exactly.
You know, because I work with women. That's my calling. I was born to work with women, but I'm working with so many women who are overwhelmed, exhausted financially, exhausted emotionally, because their children are making the wrong turns. And then there's this element of shame. So when someone like you or me can say, tell the whole story,
Right.
shame the devil,
Right.
tell the truth,
Exactly.
let people know we've had hiccups, missteps, setbacks, but yet you were able to keep moving forward. That's the value, and that's what I see you doing in the future.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Kyle. This is Jill Diamond Taylor with another interview. Woman on the street, you know, talking to people, finding out what they're all about. It's just amazing to sit here with this awesome young man, and I thank you for watching. Won't you hit the share button and share this wonderful interview hosted by Jill Diamond Taylor and my guest today, Kyle Winfrey. Believe me, you will bless somebody if you share this interview. And remember to visit my website, jeweldiamondtaylor.com. God bless you, and stay in the light. Thank you.
See you over there plugging stuff. Okay.
That's right.